Blame Truth here, and it is time again for me to cover some conspiracy theory stuff. This seems to be the most popular thing I do on the channel as of late, and for good reason. It's because people just want answers to the inconsistencies they face not only in Call of Duty as a whole, but Black Ops 6 as a whole. But we don't just have conspiracy theory stuff, we have concrete answers to things. If you guys could please like this video so it gets put in the algorithm, comment below, all that good stuff. I want everyone to see this, and I'm going to timestamp everything. If you want to skip ahead or search in the video for something specific, it's going to be there in the video description and on the timeline or whatever, so don't yell at me for the length of this video. All of this stuff needs to be talked about. Anyway. As it stands right now, Black Ops 6 is one of the most inconsistent FPSs I have personally ever played, and I am trying to figure out why. Trying to get to the bottom of things. I got a comment, and I want to cover this particular part first before we get into another thing I want to cover, because this is something I covered last year, and it took the Call of Duty team like 2 or 3 months just to address this. All they had to do was just tweet out no or yes, and they couldn't even do that and left us hanging. So we had to kind of figure out things for ourselves, and it was a big can of worms. But there was a rumor going around last year that AI bots were actually in Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer, and it makes sense because that game was projected not to sell very well. It sold about 40% less than Modern Warfare 2 did, and it would make sense that they would want to fill the multiplayer up with bots, A, to fill in the gaps of the lack of 40% of purchases, but B, they want to further manipulate the experience with SBMM, and what better way to do that than to tailor-make AI that would, even the playing field and get a really, really close game. Here's the weird thing about this, though. Whenever Call of Duty nipped this rumor in the bud, they did it in the weirdest way possible. And they said this. This is a direct quote from their first matchmaking intel blog or whatever they did last year. Does Call of Duty use bots in multiplayer matchmaking? Call of Duty multiplayer does not use bots as part of the general matchmaking process. If this changes in the future, we will inform the community. How they worded that is so strange. As part of the general matchmaking process. What is the general matchmaking process by definition? Why not just say, no, we don't use bots in multiplayer at all? Like, why be so weird with it? Why word it so strangely? That in and of itself is a weird thing, but the rumor kind of died out and most people didn't really talk about it. And I think a lot of it was actually paid bot lobbies, which are a thing. You can pay for these like bots, these scripted bots, and grind camos on them. It's like this service thing. I didn't know these things even existed until last year, but I think a lot of people would run into these particular lobbies with these very obvious bots that would kind of move in unison and stuff like that. And they're player controlled, they're not Activision controlled. And I think a lot of people would run into these lobbies and think something was really, really wrong with the game. On top of just if anyone in their lobbies were really, really bad and played like a bot, it would stand out like a sore thumb because of the skill-based matchmaking being so incredibly strict. Well, again, we kind of have some weird stuff. It's almost like a Bigfoot sighting as far as AI bots goes in multiplayer. I just want to read some comments both from my comment section and Reddit because it's going to kind of lead us down another rabbit hole. Allow me just to read this here from my comments section. Ryan says, I'm fully convinced Activision is using AI bots in multiplayer lobbies. Now, after what I experienced earlier, I was in a domination match on Lowtown. I managed to flank around to the enemy's A flag. I mantled up into the window area and checked the corners. I was immediately melted by a person that was just standing in the middle of the building. This is where it gets weird. I watched the kill cam. The dude was just standing in the middle of the hallway outside the flag, facing the complete opposite direction of the flag and myself, not aiming down sight, nothing. Just standing there like they were AFK. He turned and immediately snapped aim to my direction in that window up above and melted me. If you queue up a custom lobby and put veteran bots against you, this is exactly what they do if you watch the kill cams. Some of them will not move out of a spot until you move into a certain distance range in their area. They will turn and laser you. So yeah, call me crazy. I have never played any other shooter that plays as bizarre as Black Ops 6. If we go down and read the replies, another person says they actually have a patent for AI bots indistinguishable from real players registered. Wouldn't be surprised at this point. Ryan replies and says, if you think about it, what better way to equalize a lobby and rig a match to end 199 to 200 in domination or 99 to 100 in TDM? Use AI bots and algorithms to basically screw you over during each match. It's much harder to rig a match with all human players based solely off everyone's stats with matchmaking. This is all starting to make sense now, why this game feels so different and plays so bizarre compared to all the other shooters I've played over the years, going all the way back to Black Ops 1 and Battlefield 3, etc. I have watched literally thousands of my own personal kill cams over the years, and I have never witnessed the type of kill cams I've seen like these ones so far in Black Ops 6. Some of these gunfights just got me scratching my head. Nothing about this game feels like a true organic multiplayer experience. There's more though. I've been feeling the same way. Someone says in a reply, I got chills reading this. Your point triggered a response which caused me to recount all the bizarre interactions I've had in this game. Just this weekend, I remember saying to my friend in a fit of rage, what is happening? These enemies are acting so weird. I'm a knife-only player. My playstyle is very aggressive and flank-heavy. Round 1, 4 kills. Round 2, 4 kills, followed by death after death after death. A player just standing in a room waiting was aiming at a closed door, not moving. I entered from the side and then I got gunned down. Someone else says, I definitely experienced the same thing. I wish I remember the guy's name, but he was in the same area on Lowtown. This is in response to Ryan. The guy's movement was very body and he immediately knew where I was, even with Ninja on. This person says, just saying that he has talked about the possibility of AI bots, he being me, in matches since the recent MW3 and MW2, so this is not new and may play a background factor compared to these newer zeroed-in EOMM systems. But I don't play the game, so I wouldn't know the amount of possible bots that exist per match. This person says, you are not crazy. I'm an OG FPS player. I also think bots are in multiplayer. Maybe 1 or 2 per game, and they are definitely after me. Even the chopper I gunned down in the sky will diagonally fall perfectly on my face. I remember a vid from MW2 or 3 where in public match where only humans are supposed to play, 3 bots were bugged and moving totally in sync with each other was almost scary to see. I think what Johnny saw there, though, was those paid, like, camo grinding scripted bot lobbies that people have. But again, that just adds to the confusion of this game, and the fact that Activision hasn't cracked down on that is kind of ridiculous, but whatever. One last comment here. If you think about it more, the forced disband of lobbies and the lack of communication between teams is very artificial too. There's not really a way to know if you're playing against a bot or not. Now, me personally, I actually haven't played that much of the multiplayer. I can't really bear it. I'm sorry, but like it's just terrible, so I just don't really play it. I play it as little as I can. However, this is something I noticed in Modern Warfare 3 as well. Just weird stuff that, you know, you wouldn't normally think anything weird about it, but just the way people are playing and like the way they move around and stuff like that, it's very bizarre, especially when you're in a higher SBMM bracket. Even when I reverse boost and 2-box into a lower skill lobby, people don't play like bots, they just play bad. Like, they move around and stuff, but they just can't aim for shit. But when it's really weird is when they're not really moving at all. Their movement's just not normal, and they aimbot you, essentially. You know, like they just lock on and beam you. I did have one particular kill cam in Nuketown, but it was something to that effect. There was a guy just sitting there, aimed at one side of the bus, and then all of a sudden he like snapped aim to the other side of the bus and beamed me with one headshot in a multiplayer match. And this is something where it's like, is this a bot? Is this person cheating? Did he just hear me? There's so many random variables that it's just hard to tell what anything actually is concrete in Black Ops 6. Like, we just don't know. I mean, we don't even have a health bar like Black Ops 4, which doesn't help with the inconsistent gunfights. Hit markers seem to be giving ghost hit markers sometimes. It's just a mess. What I showed you on Reddit is about the only kind of AI bot things I could find. It's a lot less than MW3. I think with MW3, just spitballing here, just spitballing, I think there actually was some AI bot stuff they were testing, which caused that rumor to kind of start on Reddit, and then it kind of caught like wildfire, and then I think they backtracked it once that rumor gained popularity, and then they made that weird statement worded very strangely that, no, we don't use bots in the general matchmaking process, which again, if they're running an experiment, maybe they are doing that, and maybe they're doing that little by little here in Black Ops 6. There's no way to know. All we do know is that this game is inconsistent as fuck, and the devs in Activision lie to us, or at the very least, hide things from us. So let me know in the comments if you've had any weird bot-like matches or whatever. I'm going to be doing some more experiments on this and doing some more testing and whatnot. It's a hard thing to prove, though, because to prove someone's not a bot, I mean, you can't on an online multiplayer game, really. You know what I mean? So I'll do some more research on it, but that should be that. Except there's more. You see, I'm not done here. I have the wild conspiracy theory, and then I have the explanation for what's actually going on. This is where the video is gonna get way, way weirder, but you're gonna get some actual concrete answers on why Black Ops 6 is an inconsistent pile of shit. So buckle up. Let's get into it. I got a really weird comment the other day. Not weird as in it's strange and it made me like second guess things, but weird as in this person did a lot of testing akin to an exclusive ace or a drifter or a data guy, and he was kind enough to share his findings in the comment section. Now, we know that Tactical Brit made a video testing the netcode of Black Ops 6, and it's terrible. The desync and the netcode and the servers are all out of whack. Everything's kind of weird, but that doesn't explain a lot of the stuff people seem to experience where they'll be doing good, they'll be doing well, and I even covered this in yesterday's video, where all of a sudden, after you're doing well, it seems like, you know, you're going 3-to-1 KD, 4-to-1 KD, you're popping off. All of a sudden, you start getting aim resist, or your aim assist kind of bugs out and turns off, or the enemy team starts taking more shots to kill, or the TTK just becomes inconsistent the entire match. Whatever. You name it, it happens. Why does that seem to happen after you're on a roll? It seems algorithmically biased, and even Drifter, the data guy, said, and I quote, "It feels like this game is algorithmically fucking with me." That's actually a paraphrase quote, but that's essentially what he said. And like, I get it. It feels rigged. Why? I think I actually have the answer here. Let's look into this person's comments, and then we're going to follow up on it with what I think after. This is a long one, so buckle up. Drifter put out a video talking about how, despite not agreeing that the issues players are experiencing online in BO6 are a result of skill-based player nerfing, he does acknowledge that because of server issues, what he's experienced does feel that way. That's what I was just referencing there. So I decided to post my observations messing with my connection. The thing is, it's not even just the servers, it's the netcode. I've been doing quite a bit of messing around with my network environment, and I can tell you that what's going on your end, or more likely the other player's end, will affect the experience. For example, if you drop, corrupt, or misorder your packets, you can avoid taking some damage, despite registering that you've been hit, or outright not even register the hit, as I've ran into a couple of grenade indicators without so much as even a flinch or any on-screen indication of being hit. There is also variable damage that is somehow tied to ping that I've noticed this as far back as OG Black Ops days. In those days, people claim that it's multiple bullets stacking into a single packet that gives the impression of higher damage per bullet, but I don't think that's true. I've noticed that when playing with an ideal connection, I will always get one-shotted by a sniper rifle, but if I just increased my ping to a certain level in the same match, that same sniper will start having to hit me twice to take me down. One of the big problems with Black Ops 6 is how lenient its netcode is, and how good its lag comp is at smoothing out bad connections. I've tried playing with a 750 ping and it was still playable, though not too good feeling. I could drop half the packets and not get booted from the server. And what makes all of this worse is that COD netcode has some weird system where it seems to inject fake lag into other players' connections in the lobby based on the worst connections in that lobby, which is partly the source of that packet burst. Unless you're the one playing on a crappy connection, then it's true packet burst. Notice how packet burst seems to almost exclusively happen when you've entered the vicinity of an enemy player. If you've ever seen a player leave or enter a lobby and get stutter and then the whole feel of the match changes, this is probably why. Also, the game still uses client hosts on occasion, i.e. player systems as servers, like the old Xbox 360, PS3 days. I've actually had a few matches tonight where a player would leave the lobby, the game would pause and give some message about severe connection issue, and then resume play. And in all honesty, I think the client servers actually feel better to play on than Activision servers. Another element to take into account is that you resync into the game every time you die, and the quality of the resync seems to vary wildly. This is why you can go on a tear and get massive streaks and feel like a god, get killed, and all of a sudden you can't hit anything. This was especially noticeable during 2-round domination CODs, where one round a team could slap the other team's cheeks, and the next round they struggle to get out of spawn. So yes, there is stuff going on that sounds similar to skill-based player nerfing, but I think it actually has more to do with netcode than skill. The only thing I can't 100% figure out is if it's a natural byproduct of a bad network environment, or if this stuff is actually coded in to function based on a player's connection quality. And given that they've previously admitted to implementing host advantage, I'm leaning towards this being deliberate. So if you want to see the biggest improvements to the online experience, devs need to finally set stricter standards for the kind of connection that is allowed to play online. A connection with 750 milliseconds of ping that's dropping every other packet is wild. And with a system that tries to keep the experience fair by injecting fake lag based on the state of the player's connections, isn't fair and creates a miserable experience for most. They also need to tighten up their syncing method. I can't tell if it's connection based, but from what I've tested, it does seem that changing your ping at the start of the match, before and after you spawn, and every time before and after you spawn does seem to affect it. I also wish they would implement some kind of check before the start of the match that decided if a dedicated server or client host would give the best experience in that match. As from my experience, it seems like depending on various factors, client hosts actually give you a tighter, more responsive experience. Lastly, they need to give players the option to download all the high quality textures in one go. I would bet the online texture streaming tech plays a part in some of the hitching and other issues that players experience, especially in the early days after installing the game. Now, having just read all of that, which is very, very interesting and explains a lot, remember what this comment said about injecting fake lag into the match. And then watch this clip from Drifter's latest video talking about skill-based damage, the matchmaking, etc.
But when I started paying attention to my on-screen metrics, I realized this wasn't just my imagination. Sometimes I'm playing games which are, for no particular reason, above 120 milliseconds in ping. I'm still connected to North American servers, there's nothing going wrong with my home internet or computer or anything, and I'm just lagging really, really bad. But then other games, I have less than 10 milliseconds of ping, and there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason as to why this happens. I have been unable to determine why this is happening to me, and I wasn't able to see a pattern with it until I started kind of searching online. I watched some other people's videos. I watched one of Ace's videos about a day or two ago, and he was talking about having this exact same experience, so it's really nice to hear a sort of non-conspiracy brained person talking about having this exact same experience that I have, and that every match feels very, very wildly different. And I don't think that skill-based damage is the culprit here, but I do think that desync, server overload, and just generally bad netcode could be blamed.
The no pattern thing has me scratching my head because Drifter and Exclusive Ace and a lot of data guys back in Black Ops Cold War proved that when you went up in the skill-based matchmaking bracket, your ping overall, the average ping to the server would be worse because it would factor in skill over connection quality. But in Drifter's lobbies, it's not making any sense why he's getting 100 plus ping in certain matches, below 10 ping in other matches, and it doesn't make sense when he said that, his own words, that he's not very good at Black Ops 6. He's kind of having to relearn the game, and it's not making sense why these players in the lower skill bracket lobbies are beaming him. And then I realized that the matchmaking algorithm, everything about this game has to be intentional, even down to putting players in your lobby that may have bad connections. I actually have tried to check the network statistics on Call of Duty Black Ops 6 in a match for the other players, and I simply cannot. I can check my own, I cannot check anyone else. You cannot check something as basic as the ping of everyone in your match. So who's to say someone doesn't back out of the match and the algorithm intentionally puts someone in your lobby that has a bad connection to the server to inject fake lag because you are doing too well in the match? As far as I'm concerned, and I don't think this is a conspiracy theory whatsoever, I really do not, and I would love for more people to test this, but I genuinely think that the poor connection experience is purposeful. Whether it's injecting fake lag or putting people with bad connections in your lobby intentionally as a form of skill-based matchmaking or engagement optimized matchmaking, it's all a part of the algorithm to manipulate the outcome of the game. And before you say this is a tinfoil hat theory, in the Call of Duty matchmaking blog itself, they say they want every player, regardless of skill level, to experience wins and losses more proportionally. They're flat out saying to your face they are rigging the experience of the online multiplayer matches. Up until this year, they didn't even talk about skill-based matchmaking. The devs were under NDA. They could not talk about skill-based matchmaking, engagement optimized matchmaking, whatever, until Modern Warfare 3 came out. 5 years. These devs were like FBI agents. They could not talk about what they did or what they were doing. Why keep this system so secretive? Why use such weird language in the blog covering this system? Nothing is concrete. Everything seems like it was written up by a lawyer. In my humble opinion, the average Call of Duty player is either A, so bad it doesn't matter, or B, stupid as fuck. Sometimes C. Both of these things combined. They are not going to notice this. In fact, the system is literally made for them. The flow of the actual game is essentially TikTok brain rot. I cannot think of a more algorithmic platform than TikTok. I can't use the fucking app because every time I open it, my eyes and ears are assaulted by a video I did not choose playing in my fucking face. As far as I'm concerned, Call of Duty is just TikTok now. Nothing is organic. Nothing is there to actually be a fun experience. It's there to manipulate you, engage you, and get you addicted to the game inorganically. It is a rigged piece of shit! And I don't like it.
We want to get new players in the game, and we want them to kind of like, we don't want them to just get punched in the mouth over and over again until they leave. We want a healthy ecosystem. We want a lot of players in and having fun, and that's a big focus for us. It's a big focus for us in weapon design. It's a big focus for us in level design. Our weapons are a bit more lethal than they were in the Black Ops, the recent Black Ops, and that helps a lower skill player get a kill when they otherwise wouldn't, have some success, and then feel like now there's a desire to get better, to get another kill. Our maps are a little bit more porous, and we want those players to have a safe place to take their time, to learn how to turn and move, and then shoot, put those pieces together, and then they see someone and be like, oh, okay, now I can do this. So